My name is Gianna Boykin, and I will be your moderator today. Now, before we get started, we do have a few housekeeping items to go over. Today's session will be recorded. If you're not comfortable with this, please disconnect. We are going to be sending out the recording following the event. For any questions you have during today's webinar, please use the Q&A box on the right-hand side of your screen. If the questions are related to the presentation, we're going to answer those at the very end. We have also added some additional documents on the right-hand side of your screen entitled Docs for more information. I am excited to now introduce you to our speakers today, Michael Koo, Vice President of Global Technical Support, Adrian Catanici, Director of Technical Support, and Brian Latour, Critical Account Manager.
Thank you, Gianna. And thank you to all who are taking time out of your day or evening to join us. So again, my name is Michael Koo. I've been at Axway for about 13 years now in a variety of roles, all within the global support team, with the last 6 actually leading the global support organization. And as Gianna said, I'm joined today by 2 members of my team, Adrian and Brian. Just really quickly, Adrian, Brian, can you just give a brief description of your roles and your time at Axway? Adrian?
Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining this session. I'm Adrian Catanici. I've been at Axway for more than 12 years. I've started as a senior support engineer in ADI for the B2B team, then moved to management. And after that, right now I'm for almost 5 years having the role of the director for the MFT, B2B, and AFAH products for EMEA. It has been a nice ride, a lot of session with customers, and thank you for the invitation and having me here.
Okay. Thanks, Adrian. Brian?
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Good morning, everyone. My name's Brian Latour. I've been with Axway for about the same amount of time as Adrian. I've been here for going on 12 years. Working as a critical account manager that entire time. So my role with Axway has been primarily just helping customers get to good technical outcomes for the issues that they have. So I've been working in the support department under Mike for that amount of time, and I think we've made a lot of good progress in helping customers, and it's a role that I really enjoy working at Axway. So again, thanks for having me here this morning. I'm looking forward to speaking with everyone.
Awesome. Thank you, Brian, and thank you, Adrian. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about trust and why it's such an important factor when evaluating a solution provider. In the software and integration solution market, it's fairly simple and straightforward to compare features and functionality between vendors. I would even say that generally we all pretty much offer the same thing outside of a few unique differentiating features, of course. What may not be as obvious, though, and I would argue equally as important, is the relationship you have with your vendor, and specifically the support organization. I might be biased in saying that, but I feel that's really true. Here's the thing. Support is who you are working with at the worst times possible. When things are not going right, when your entire company is waiting on you to fix an issue or deploy some new functionality. And naturally, when you want your software to work, it won't. It's just a law of nature. So you reach out to your friendly support team and ask for help. And that's when you really know if you pick the right vendor. Software companies are full of very, very smart people who know their product inside and out. But how well do they know your business? And how well do they know the history of your environment and whether or not you had a similar issue 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago? And that solution you just got from support, how confident are you that it's the best solution for your business and your business partners? It may technically check all the boxes, but is there possibly a better way to do it? Or worst case scenario, did that support engineer just tell you what you wanted to hear just to close the case as soon as possible, knowing that the answer they provided will come back and haunt you in 6, 7 months when your transaction volumes triple? So how much you trust your vendor support organization and how well they know you can mean the difference between just making it work versus truly delivering value to your business partners. Um, and that is why building and gaining the trust of our customers and our partners is core to the Axway support philosophy. We do not just want to solve your problems today. We really want to build a relationship with you while helping you recognize value from your software investment. We want to be your technology partner for the next 20 years or longer and understand that in order to do so, we need to gain your trust with each and every interaction you have with the global support team. And how we do that is actually quite straightforward. You see, there's trust is not a random generic word that we use haphazardly around the office. Rather, we dedicate recurring internal enablement sessions to ensure everyone in Axway understands what it takes to earn and keep someone's trust. We've adopted a concept called trusted advisor, and specifically, we often refer to a simple concept called the trust equation. And the trust equation is made up of four equally weighted components: credibility, reliability, intimacy, and low self-orientation. So over the next 15, 20 minutes or so, we will explore these four concepts with the help of Adrian and Brian sharing their unique perspectives through a really informal question and answer kind of format. But let's get right into it then. With the first question for Adrian. You've mentioned that you've had several roles during your career at Axway, each with a unique and different perspective on a customer-vendor relationship. You've mentioned that you started your journey as a technical support engineer. Could you share your experience about how you established your credibility with your customers and the customers that you work with, and how you gained their trust as a technical resource who can solve their product issues?
Thank you, Mike. But I would say it starts from my experience. Right now, I'm also taking care that during the hiring process, so it starts from the basics. We do focus on the hiring for attitude and train for the skills. But and we have that talent support engineers in Axway, so really glad we do have that. I will say it's about integrity, reliability, and predictability in actions. Do what you say you will do. I think this is the foundation how the word trust is created. But it's also more than that. It's listening to customers, to the concerns, to the feedback that we can share with other teams, even if it's not in our job description. If we can change one thing out of three, it's a start. Every small win matters. Then we also have to accept that we don't have all the answers, and to be open about it, and also working hard on getting the answers. It's also about being proactive. It saves time for you and your customers. If you know about that is impacting your customers before they do, just reach out to them. Just the other day, I follow up on an escalation where our engineers proved that the performance issue was caused by the infrastructure. And knowing when that infrastructure change will be applied, we just made sure we follow up on that. There was no case, no escalation, just a simple follow-up with no obligations, because we actually wanted to know if we can help further, even if there was radio silence. Of course, the customer appreciated that and thanked us for just reaching out.
Great. Thanks, Adrian. Let's jump over to Brian. Brian, you have a somewhat unique role in the company. And while you're part of the support organization, your role is different than a technical support engineer that Adrian just described. Can you explain a little bit for those not familiar with the critical account manager role? What is your role within the team?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, as I opened, really the core, the fundamental role that I have at Axway is to improve technical outcomes for customers. So the MCS program at Axway is basically an add-on component. It's our highest level of support. So people that are engaged with us at this level are choosing to make that investment and improve their relationship with Axway through more engagement, and part of that is getting a critical account manager assigned to your account. So I'm assigned to individual accounts, and they're mostly our our largest users of our products. That I'm not vertical specific. I'm spread across a variety of different industries, and I'm spread across a variety of Axway products. So people choose to use the MCS program to get that highest level of support and get better SLAs, initial response times, and a critical account manager. So I'm engaged with them on a frequent basis. The role, primarily my day-to-day that I'm doing is working with customers on case reviews, tracking what they're doing, and again, trying to improve those outcomes. So the expectation of the customer for me is to be engaged with them and know what they're doing. You mentioned for a second, Mike, when engineers jump onto the line and there's questions about, oh, wait, so what version of the product are you running? What are you guys doing? That doesn't instill confidence from the beginning of an interaction. So what we try to do with the MCS program is try to avoid that and improve across the entire organization awareness of what these customers who are investing in this program improve that awareness across the entire organization of what they have set up and what they're doing. And so my role in the organization is to learn about that from the customer and sort of translate that across to everybody in the organization as best I can. So again, it's like you said, it's a pretty unique role. There's nobody else really doing what the critical account managers are doing. And the overall goal, like Mike was talking about, is consistency and improving outcomes through that. Staying engaged, learning what customers are doing on a continual basis, tracking their issues, pushing for resolutions with support and with R&D, and just having a really good understanding of everything that's going on continually. And with that, we build trust, and we improve our relationships. And I think that the MCS program is definitely something that results in better retention, better outcomes, better retention. So yeah, it's a great program. I'm happy to be doing that. I learn new things every day. We see really interesting, because we work with some of the biggest customers, so we see interesting things. And it's a great program. I'm glad to be a part of it.
Thanks, Bart. So obviously, what makes a CAM successful is being available, right? You're not going to be able to do everything that you just described if you're not available and responsive to your customers that you're assigned to. But maybe more important is just how reliable are you when executing that role and those job functions. So, how would you explain why reliability and customers knowing that they can count on you is so crucial to the success of your role and the value that you deliver through the MCS program?
You have to prove that continuously, right? You've got to, like I say, in order to gain those understandings of what's going on and be ready, be Johnny on the spot when something goes wrong, you've got to know what they're doing. So you start with making sure that with cadences, you're there each week, have those case reviews bi-weekly, have those case reviews and stick to those schedules. But most importantly is when things go bad, and it will eventually, right? Whether it's Axway software or an environment issue or anything, this is technology, and this is big technology. These are enterprise deployments. Things will go bad eventually. You need to be there then to manage those escalations, manage that engagement, and be sure that the customer is getting the best possible outcomes during those situations. So that's the key to the role: managing escalations, being there during really bad system down events, even partial system down events, being there to track those through. And showing the customer that you're there then makes you part of their team. And so that reliability, if you can do it then you're part of the team and it helps. So, and then you continue that through during those weekly case reviews and everything else. And so you just build that over time and you gain that trust through those. But that consistency is the most important, is when the system goes down, be there. Unfortunately, it can happen during a holiday. I've been on calls during Christmas Eve day where there's, but then you also look, and that consistency is not just expected of you, it's expected of the entire team on the client side as well. So they have a very similar work ethic. These are important environments that need to be up and running. You need to pay attention to them, and they need that care. And so that same ethic is instilled in the best administrators for these big enterprises that are running these things. So you're showing them that you share that that desire to make sure that it's up and running, and it takes consistency to do that. So again, it just improves the partnership.
Yeah, you mentioned time and consistency a couple times. It doesn't sound like it's something that you can do within the first 6 months of the relationship, right? It's something that you've built up over 12 years in a role working with the same customers.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
The majority of that time. So, yeah.
It takes time. And there's an expectation from the customer, right? They're making an investment in a higher level of support. And so it's easier that way because they expect that. And so you're working together to find that groove, to find that cadence that works best. But yes, it takes time. Of course, you got to prove it out to them. And those system down and those bad times are the times that you can really prove it and gain a bond that is, it gets easier. That's one of the good outcomes of incidents like that, is that you can gain that camaraderie.
Thanks. Let's go back to Adrian. So in your current role as a member of the senior leadership team, you lead the entire Bucharest, Romania support organization. And one of the things you worked hard on coming out of the pandemic a few years ago was to rebuild that face-to-face collaboration and informal connections amongst your team that was lost for 18 months while we all worked remotely. So when you spend time in the Romania Support Center, which I have over the years, you can clearly see the energy and the connection that the team has with each other. Now, how do you build that same type of connection or intimacy with customers?
Thank you, Mike. I just we love what we do. But before we do it, there is hard work. So, now regarding to the customer, a little bit from what also Brian mentioned. So, from my experience till now, I can say that it's built in time, and after the intimacy is built after a strong trust relationship, working together in several situations. And build natural during conversations while the service is restarting, or another team from the customer location is checking the network or database or something else. There is that time where when conversation outside the product or issue are happening. It's also built when the customer feels that we are one with his pain, when his pain is our pain. And in my first years at Axway, I was lucky and understood the impact our software has while visiting a customer. It helped me understand that the infrastructure and jobs depend on us. That time is critical. Trucks couldn't leave the warehouse. And for some cases, you need to be fast in finding the resolution and the root cause. No email could explain that feeling. And now I try to use as much as possible, and also we in Bucharest, to use the webcam on the laptops while working with customers or speaking internally. It just helps receiving and sending a message in a more human way. we wish we could visit all our customers, or we wish that all customers could visit us. Some of us do succeed to do that, and vice versa.
Mhm.
But why is that important? It makes the job a pleasure. It reaches a level where communication is with your work colleague. When the customer knows that we will be there for him, even in the wildest endeavors. You can also, and I did that, you can also ask customers for help. It happened to me for a wild solution, a wild implementation, not only Axway products, it was a very complex scenario while I was an engineer. And I asked a customer about specifics of another software that was not delivered by our company. And that helped me finding the resolution for a customer that was impacted. So basically a customer helped another customer. Now we do have the community portal. Back then we didn't. But the point is that I felt that was not a customer there, that was a partner, a work colleague. So without providing any information about the other customer, it really helped me understood the configuration of the other software, and just like that it was fixed. And we also know I have different another story, but about we all know that all manual and automated testing will never cover all production use cases. And we have customers that apply a release in test and then in production before it's in general availability, knowing that we are there in a few minutes if there is something wrong. So that is trust. And we are lucky to have, we are very happy and lucky with our customers. Thank you for that.
Great. Thanks, Adrian. One final question for you, Brian, and it's about the final piece of the trust equation, and it's kind of you have to twist your mind around a little bit to understand, but we're going to talk a little bit about self-orientation and specifically low self-orientation and how it's key to building trust. And in your role as a critical account manager, how does low self-orientation in your day-to-day interactions bring value to the relationship?
Yeah, it's kind of a funny concept, right, Mike? Low self-orientation. They're not teaching that in schools today because everybody's the most important. But to be honest, when we're working with our customers, the system is the most important. That's the most important thing. And if you look at your counterparts, the people, the administrators at these companies that are working on these systems, they also have low self-orientation. At least the good ones have low self-orientation because everything that's going on with you doesn't matter if there's something really bad going on with one of these systems, because some of these systems with the big banks that we're working with, and they're moving, not even, you don't even look at it in dollars, you look at it in percentages of the overall economy of not only of this country, but of the world. So these are very, very important systems, and you need to keep that in mind as you're working with customers, because to build trust, you need to show them that you're not, if you've got a scheduled event or anything, you don't even mention that. You go and you take care of what's going on with the system at the time if there's a big problem. And if you can prove that to them, then again, like I say, your counterparts at these companies are going to have a very, very similar way of doing business, because if they're successful at running these systems, they're going to have that low self-orientation. And again, like it sounds bad, but it's a good thing, because you're getting work done, you're putting all your personal things aside and you're focused on it, and that it just builds trust. That sort of attitude is critical, and it's something you don't think about very often. If you've got a personality that you can do that, you do it without thinking about it. But again, it's the small little comments and things like that you gotta keep in mind. If someone's stressed on the other side because they're worried about a system going down, or they've been having recycles and they've got senior management and CTOs breathing down their neck about stability, when you make a comment about, well, I'm gonna have to leave in 15 minutes because I've got to go pick up the kids. That's regular life, and that's fair. But those little comments like that are just, you've got to avoid things like that, and you've got to keep that in mind, low self-orientation. And hopefully it just comes without even thinking about it, because then you can truly be successful. But it's an important point. And in building trust, you've got to make sure that your partners know, that your customers know that, you know, you've got their best interest in mind, and that's a big part of it. So it is kind of a funny concept, and when you write it down on paper and you talk about low self-orientation and in becoming a trusted advisor and things like that, it's almost laughable. It's like, but it's not saying you're not important. It's just saying that something is a lot more important than you in these systems. You know, in those instances where they're having problems, it's very, very important to make sure that they're up and running. So.
Great. Thanks, Brian. So I know I referred to the trust equation a few times. So I just wanted to take the last few minutes that we have here and kind of summarize what we talked about today. So how much a person, organization, or company is worthy of your trust as a business partner can all are represented by this equation that we've talked about. First, their credibility, or simply how knowledgeable and experienced are they in the industry? Have they seen it all? Have they been through it through all the years? And maybe more important, will they be your partner as technology evolves and constantly changes in the years to come? Are they keeping up with all the latest developments and remembering all the pitfalls of yesterday? And then how reliable are they? Do they come through on their commitments and promises? Do they follow up and provide you regular updates when they say they will be? And really, we take it for granted, but are they really there for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? And then how well do they really know you and your business? Not just the industry, because most vendors will know the industry fairly well, but your unique organizational challenges and limitations and requirements. And how well do they know you as a person? It's easy to get lost in the technology and the endless emails and Teams or Slack messages that we forget we all have lives outside of work. Brian talked about picking up kids, right? But flip that around, and does your vendor know that you have to pick up your kids usually between 3 and 3:30, and that you're not available for calls, and they purposely don't schedule meetings during that time window because they know you're not going to be available? Do you have that kind of relationship with your software vendor? And then lastly, who's being put first? You really need to look at that. And we talk about low self-orientation, but is your vendor primary interest in closing the case as fast as possible just to meet a KPI or a metric? Or are they trying to sell you the largest deployment possible just because it'll result in the greatest margin for them? Or are they really looking out for you and what's best for you? And will they put you, the customer, actually first? So factoring those 4 concepts in will tell you whether or not you have a trustworthy relationship with your software vendor, and how much you trust each other will be the difference between a relationship that is just okay, it works, versus one that will really deliver value for years to come. So thank you, Adrian and Brian, again for your participation and giving us real world tangible examples from your years of experience. And thank you all to everyone for attending. I hope you walk away with a better understanding of why trusting your vendor support organization is an important factor to consider when selecting your next business partner. We have about a minute. If there's any questions, happy to take them.
I believe that is all the time we have for today. But thank you so much, Mike, Brian, and Adrian. We are going to follow up with any questions that came in after the event. And then the on-demand link for today's presentation will be emailed to you all in the next 24 hours. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.